Hey everyone, this is a tutorial for the Make C mask in Indy. Once you've printed it off, go ahead and cut it out. If you print it on a regular 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, the scale will be perfect. Once you have it cut out, then you'll want to get your fabric. I've pressed this really obnoxious fabric for this tutorial. And you want to put the facing sides in and the back side out, doubled up. We're going to make a double layered one, so we'll go ahead and use the wheel cutter. If you don't have a rotary cutter, you can use a regular pair of scissors to cut it out, but I would recommend placing some pins on through the mask so that it makes it a little easier. You don't have any sliding. But it doesn't have to be super perfect. You can correct those issues with the machine. So let's get started. I'll go ahead and cut it out. I'm going to cut 2 of them. Okay, there's my first one. Okay, and there is my second one. So we don't actually want to leave these joined together like this, so there's a little bit of a fold I can see. I'm just going to cut along it. All right, now we have 2 of these together. Now make sure your machine is clean. Get any extra dust out of there before we get started. Once you've wound your bobbin, place it in the machine and add your thread. If you haven't oiled your machine in a while, then that's a good idea to go ahead and do that before you sew a lot. General machine maintenance can usually be found in the owner's manual, and if you don't have that anymore, just simply do a search online for the make and model of your machine if you're able to find what that is. Now you'll take your 2 pieces with the outside in, and we're going to stitch along this edge here, indicated with the purple dotted line on the pattern. We're going to do that again with the other piece. and we'll stitch along that edge. One of these will end up being on the outside and one will be the liner. Seam allowance is just under 1/4 of an inch. I like to sew both sides to make sure it's nice and sturdy, and it will go through many, many washes. Okay, so one of them is going to turn into the liner. So we'll just designate this one as the liner. So when it's flipped like this, I like to trim, this is the nose, this is the chin. I like to trim on the back side one end about 1/4 of an inch. Doesn't have to be perfect, just eyeball it. And this will end up being the pocket that fits the N95 filter. So we'll just tack that down with a stitch, folding it in about 1/4 of an inch. Set that aside. Grab your other piece and flip it so that the right side is facing out. And here's what it looks like. There's the nose, there's the chin area, and normally you would want to iron press this. So there's a little divot here, that's for your seaming. So when you join the two pieces together, you have this outer layer. Just lay it down and take the seam out, the other one, and just lay it right on top. So now you've got a sandwich with the liner and the other fabric together, seams out on both sides. I like to start at the bottom. In the middle, I join the two seams together here, and that's where I begin the stitch. Once again, we're using just under 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And we're just gonna line it up and go all the way down this edge here. Making sure the fabric is still lined up on the other side. Flip it. We're going to repeat the process on the top where the nose goes. Once again, lining it up in the middle and going from there. This one has a little bit of a curve. You just follow the curve. I like to trim my threads away so they don't get caught. Once again, making sure it's all lined up. Flip it. Now that's done. Here we're going to go ahead and put a stitch along this edge. If you're making multiple ones, you can pretty much just line them up and run them through on a batch sewing. Makes the process go a lot easier and it saves thread. You just kind of line them up end to end. If I had another one, I would put it through right here. Now that's the end that we're going to have this pocket. So that'll be the N95 pocket. This is the liner on the inside. This is the outside. Of course, it's reversed, so we need to flip it. And now the outside of the mask should have the equal ends. This is the nose up here. This is the chin. You would iron it to make it nice and beautiful, make your edges nice and crisp, and see how it curves. It'll contour under the eyes, but if somebody wears glasses, it actually won't steam them up. And for medical workers who are wearing face shields, it will actually help press against the mask a little bit. So I'm just sewing these two ends together that are the ones that are even, and you'll see why in just a moment. And then this is the other end where there's the opening between the layers. So I'm gonna kind of fold this in. Normally I would have had it pressed in, so it takes a little finagling, but obviously you don't even need to pin. You just fold it along that stitched edge you did earlier, and then you fold it in again, and see that just kind of will make, there's that pocket. And so if they want to use an N95 filter, they can. So you just want to stitch it on. Sometimes if the fabric is cut a little bit more on the bias, it can stretch and almost do like a strange roll. So that's why pressing it really helps. This you want to sew right along the left edge as much as you can. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just sewn right there on the very, very edge. And that way you can fit the elastic through this channel without interrupting the fact that we've just created this pocket here for an N95 filter. And this will be to the right ear area. Okay. On the other side, you want to make sure that you sew it again, very similar. You fold it along that stitch you made earlier, and then you fold it again. Mine's on the bias, so it's kind of squirrely. What does the bias mean? It means that it's not like a tic-tac-toe grid. The fabric has turned to more of a 45-degree crisscross pattern, like X's, and so it causes the fabric to stretch along the woven grid. For those of you that didn't know that. Okay, so we have our elastic channel created now. I like to clean it up, but for the sake of this video, this is a little bit more of a crude mask, just so that it's fast, so you're not spending your whole day. But okay, so you'll have two pieces of elastic. These are about 7 inches long. Mine are a little longer, but for the masks we're creating, 7 inches. And you'll want to find like a big needle like this that's easy to thread. It's just going to make your life a lot easier to have a needle like this. And you put it through the channel. And once it gets about all the way through, you just kind of hold the elastic with your thumb back here, and it just makes it really super easy. I call this Taj Mahal it. And then you just tie a knot at the top with your Taj Mahal. And I pull on these ends just to kind of lock it into place. And I personally like to put the elastic back through the channel so that the knot is hidden. I just think it looks prettier, and you know, we're sewing in some love. Then you do it on the other side. Oopsies. Okay. Once again, you Taj Mahal it and tie your knot. Tighten it and pull it through. Well, sometimes it doesn't want to go, but okay. Ugh. There we go. So now you have your mask, and there you go. It's perfect. It's ready to fit somebody's face. Made with love right here in Indiana. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you for taking on the task of making these masks for our medical workers here in Indiana. I know that they really appreciate it, and we do appreciate you too as well.